This next fly is, in my opinion, one of the world's most famous flies. It's certainly one of the most famous flies in Europe and has been for a few years. It's so well known, in fact, and so associated with one man's name that I actually contacted the guy to ask if we could include it in this DVD series. It is, of course, Marjan Fratnik's F-fly. Not only did he write and give me permission to demonstrate the fly, he has furnished me with a set of drawings how to tie it, and he also sent me, would you believe, a lovely little presentation box with some of his F-flies in. And when I look at these, the first thing that strikes me as being quite unusual is that they're in many colours. I expected to see them all this colour, this dun colour, natural CDC colour. But look at these. A sort of tanny brown one, a yellow one, another smaller brown one, even a white one. Look at that, bright sort of hot orange. And then look at these, 4 pink ones, pale coral pink. He said that these bright coloured ones were his grayling favourites. He says they bring grayling up like nobody's business. So that's something that I'm certainly going to exploit this back end, because you can get dyed CDC plumes now. You reservoir guys, if you don't know about CDC flies, well, you obviously do because of shuttlecock buzzers, but have you ever tried an F-fly in a hot orange colour? You know, I'm thinking about when all the bits flies came out a few years ago in bright colours. So I can see some of these on a flat cam on a reservoir really working well. Now here at the top, if I turn it like this, you'll see it better. Here at the top is a CDC fly that's all hackled. This is a facsimile of an early one tied as far back as 1920. And he did in fact tell me that CDC flies have been tied somewhere on the continent, probably the Franche-Comté or in Switzerland, since the turn of the century, about 1902 he reckons. That's a little bit about the man, and there's his flies. Let's see what sort of a job I can make of it. Let's see if I can tie one that he would approve of. For this, I'm going to use a size 14. Obviously, you can tie these down to tiny sizes. I tie them down to as fine as 22s, small as 22s. And Marjan says as big as size 12s. So I think the popular sizes in this country are 14s, 16s and 18s. And I'm going to use Moser Power Silk. Looking at his flies, it's quite obvious to me he uses an ordinary twisted tying thread, but I'm going to use Power Silk. And he's got brown, black and olive. So, you know, I don't really think you need to go much more than that. What does he have on this hot orange one? The hot orange one has got a black body. On the pink ones, it's also got pink thread. And if you look in recipe books, you will see that some have got dub bodies using either muskrat or I've seen mole fur. I've also seen CDC dub bodies. I've seen them CDC dub bodies and ribbed. But the genuine article has just a tying thread body. So we're going to do it as per the man's instructions. So on with the thread, and I'm doing it by holding a tag of thread up nearly vertical so that when I wrap on it makes neat butting turns. Leave yourself enough room there to get the 2 croupions in, the 2 CDC feathers, and now if you hold there, hold it tight and drop your thread onto this sloping part here, it shunts them down and automatically makes touching turns. So it's a good little neat way of making touching turn body. Come to there, and then I just tuck that end over, do a cross hand and tether that down. That just makes the back end neat. Then 3 wraps and you can whap that off. And you can bury that as you come along this way. And looking at his drawing, it's obvious to me that he makes either a 2 or 3 pass with his tying thread. So I'm just going to make a 2 2 thread pass with tying thread all the way, and just stop short and leave enough room to get the 2 croupions in. Then park the thread just behind the eye, cord the thread up. Now it might help if you use a slightly waxed thread to get a decent grip. And now the other thing that's interesting, he sent me some of the feathers as well. And he talks about these being harvested, and they're actually plucked from the duck. They're plucked twice a year. And he said in his letter to me that these original ones, these plucked croupions, are unobtainable commercially. So that's another little gem I've got. So these are going to be used very sparingly. So these are the original Marjan Fratnik croupions. So I find 2 nice similar size croupions. What I haven't mentioned is the number of feathers per fly, the number of actual plumes per fly, depending on hook size. It says on a size 12 use 3, on a 14 and a 16 2, and on an 18 just 1. So I've got a 14 in, so it's 2 plumes. Don't go to fly tying shops or mail order places and ask if they've any croupions, because they'll wonder what you're talking about. It is in fact CDC or cul de canard. It's the same thing. So now I'll lay one on the other like that. Stroke the fibres forward, make sure they're laying in line. Stroke the fibres in the direction they lay. And I'm tying these with concave side uppermost. You could tie them that way. Doesn't really matter. I'll do them that way. And then what he does, he holds tight there, which of course I didn't know. He takes the scissors and snips off the waist. So cut off. And then what you do, you offer that little cut bunch in, come round with a pinch and loop, upward pull, and tie down very, very securely. In again, round the front, and pull, just as though you were tying in slip wings. And then take your finger and thumb back, and now 2 or 3 more turns, and crush down the rest of the ends. And you will find that you get a slightly long head if you do it this style, but you'll have noticed from his fly box that makes no difference. What you might find then is that you've just got a few whiskers there that require a little bit of a trim. Then what I do, I just tidy that front up by just tucking the thread in behind the eye. And then what he says, and this is important, lift the feathers up, lift all the feathers up, stick a thread wrap behind there, that raises them, come to the front again, and just make the standard whip finish. Nip, pull through, and cut off the waist. Now what he does, he says hold the feather along the shank, snip it off flush with the back of the bend. And then he says don't forget to glue the head, meaning of course varnish it. So just a little droplet of head cement, just a touch there and on the underside. And make sure to clear the eye out. That fly's had many a fish for me. It's a great fly. It's brilliant for grayling. It's also good for trout. It's an all round, it's a brilliant fly.